day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia, while at the same time continuing our coverage of the despotic regime of Eritrea's invasion of northern Tigray. And first, I want to try and put things in perspective as we continue to watch and analyze this conflict. Obviously, there has been some minor changes in territory over the past 24 to 48 hours. There are reports that the Eritrean army, supported by Abiy loyalist forces, have taken control of the gateway city of Shire. Gateway meaning it is the gateway along the B30 highway leading east towards other major Tigray cities such as Aksum, Workro, Adwa, Adigrat further east, and then eventually Mekelle as well to the southeast, obviously much to the southeast of Shire. But let's not get the cart before the horse. At the same time, we have seen the Abiy loyalist forces press north across the Tigrayan border. We had anticipated that because of the flatness of the terrain, that Ethiopian National Defense Forces, Abiy loyalist forces, would have the ability to press its advantage in heavy artillery, tanks, armored fighting vehicles to the gates of Alamata. And that's what we have seen today. Now let's look at the distance. Let's look at the distance that the Abiy loyalist forces have progressed in the last several weeks. So if we look at the operations near Wajah, south of Wajah to Alamata, 18 kilometers. The Abiy loyalist forces have progressed over weeks and weeks of fighting, 18 kilometers. And we haven't even got to the hills yet. If the Abiy loyalist forces continue north from Alamata all the way to Mekelle, 119 kilometers. After weeks of fighting, Abiy loyalist forces have managed to go about 18 kilometers with flat terrain. They have a further 120 kilometers over some very rugged terrain north of Alamata. If you look at it here, the switchbacks, the territory north of Alamata is very well defended by Tigrayan Defense Forces. Even if we extend the border hypothetically to Koram, again, a very, very challenging effort would be underway by Abiy loyalist forces to continue to press the attack north. And remember, just several weeks ago, the Tigrayan Defense Forces had penetrated 45 kilometers into the northern Amhara region. We're going to head back to the northwest now, near Shire. So the Eritrean army is currently attempting to occupy Shire. Its lines of supply extending from Shire to the northwest. If we look at the distance, and this is what's going to be tough for the Eritrean army, to maintain this force construct to continue to hold Shire, and then at the same time look to move east along the B30 highway towards Aksum and Adwa. And again, the area from Shire to the Eritrean border is, while not completely flat, is much less rugged than the terrain that the Eritrean army is going to have to move into east of Shire. At the same time, it's going to have to keep these supply lines. And as a bird flies, this is about 83 kilometers, well over 100 kilometers if we take into account switchbacks, roadways, and what have you. So it is going to be a serious, serious endeavor for the Eritrean army to continue these operations east along the B-30 highway. And if we kind of zoom in here a little bit, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. The route from the Eritrean border to Shire, again, relatively flat, inhospitable. We're moving in a northwesterly direction towards the Eritrean border. So again, as you can see here, very flat. Ideal terrain for the Eritrean army to move from its border area south and eventually seize control of Shire. Now, after Shire, it becomes much, much more challenging for the Eritrean army. The terrain becomes a lot more rugged, and you're going to have the Tigrayan Defense Forces operating along these ridge lines, in these hills, in these mountains, both north of the B-30, south of the B-30, and it is going to make it very difficult for the Eritrean army to continue east along the B-30 towards whatever objective it has. Now, what I'd like to also point out is something very, very important, and I think a lot of B loyalist persons, a lot of sympathizers of the despotic regime in Eritrea fail to realize and fail to understand past history. And if we go back to the 18th of June and to the 6th of July, 2021, you guys remember what happened then? Well, that was the start. 18th of June was the start of Operation Alula. That was when we observed 6 Ethiopian National Defense Force divisions and 3, possibly 3, we know of 2, Eritrean Army divisions that were effectively destroyed during Operation Alula deep inside of the Tigray region. Specifically, from those dates, we observed the 11th ENDF Infantry Division, the 20th ENDF Infantry Division, the 21st, the 24th, the 25th, the 31st, the 32nd lose most of their combat capacity, and thousands of prisoners were taken, and upwards to 10,000 members of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces were KIA'd in action throughout the much of the Tigray region. They did not have the ability to maintain its force construct in the Tigray region. So are we going to see a repeat of what happened before? And if we look back at history, in terms of the timeline of the current conflict, in the timeline of the invasion that occurred in late 2020, this current timeline is much, much slower for both the Eritrean military and the Abiy loyalist forces. They are taking significant more casualties in these ongoing operations as they press deeper and deeper into the Tigray region, specifically in regards to the northwest, running from the Eritrean border to Shire. In the south, near Alamata, different story. 18 kilometers, possibly have taken control parts of Alamata. Well, we do know the areas west and north of that locale are still under the control of significant Tigrayan defense forces. And again, harken back to Operation Alula. It would not surprise me in the least if we see sizable of B loyalist forces try to continue to press deeper and deeper into the Tigray region, only resulting in them being swallowed and to simply disappear, just like before. Past performances are indicative of future results, especially in this conflict. So I would say temper the irrational exuberance, temper the expectations of what could happen, what may happen. Look at past history. Remember the fact that at one point, the Tigrayan Defense Forces were outside of Debre Bahan, had seized control of Desse Kombolcha, and then ask yourself, could they be heading into a trap? Quite possible. Getting from the Tigrayan-Amharan border to Alamata is one thing. Going from Alamata all the way to Mekelle, north-south, is a whole other issue. Going from the Eritrean border to Shire is one thing. Going from Shire along the B30 highway with Tigrayan Defense Forces to the north and south of the B30 constantly harrying your supply lines is another story. Possibly with another outcome. But as we watch this, we'll obviously continue to monitor, report, and bring you more coverage. We are looking for more information. We are obtaining more information. We are watching this very, very closely. And we absolutely will have more information very, very soon. Appreciate you joining us this evening. It was very, very busy earlier this morning when I normally make content. So I went ahead and got things together and decided to do a late entry today. Given the situation on the ground, I thought it needed a little reason, and that's what I'm giving you. Have a good day. Thanks for joining us.